Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to a very special episode of Roadside. I'm Abigail,
I am Janica.
and in case you didn't already know, it's our 20th episode.
Yay!
And very yay. Very yay.
Very yay.
And we have a big surprise.
We do.
We do.
We have a big surprise.
We have a big surprise. We've been teasing it.
Yep.
I can feel the tension rising.
Oh.
So, since this is our 20th episode, we have to give you the surprise now.
Yes.
Mom, would you like
Yes.
to do the honors?
I was going to let you do it.
I was going to let you do it.
Oh. You want to do it together?
We'll do it together.
Okay.
Okay.
One, two,
2, 3. We're on YouTube! And you can see our faces now.
Hey!
Hello, this is what I look like.
And this is what I look like. For those that are actually seeing this on YouTube. Oh, thank you. Because we're still on a podcast, too.
Right.
Not everybody's going to watch us on YouTube, but now we'll be on YouTube for anybody that wants to see us, and we'll have more videos on TikTok because we'll have all this footage now.
Yes, very exciting.
So you'll get to see us more. Yay.
See us in our beautiful faces.
Yes.
So, Mother, tell me about life.
Life. I can't think of anything. It hasn't been. Yeah. Just living life.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any updates. My cat is in a cone right now.
Aw.
Sad.
I don't have anything really on me for an update, but I do have updates for our listeners.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes. So we have made some changes to our Patreon for our listeners. And I think they're going to be exciting.
I'm excited.
Oh, good. We changed the last 2 levels because the last 2 levels, while I'm very, I would have been very happy to have somebody pick one of the last 2 levels.
Right.
It hasn't happened, but I did some research on different levels of Patreon. So we lowered the dollar amounts on our last 2 levels. And for anybody that doesn't know what Patreon is, it's basically a monthly payment, I guess, through Patreon to become a patron and support our show. And so it helps support our show financially, and then you get some benefits from it, depending on which level.
It's like a subscription service, and you get to pick what you get out of it and how much you pay.
Right.
But it's for podcasts and other things.
Yes. Yeah, lots of people have Patreon.
Yeah.
But you can go to roadsidepodcast.com, and there is a little button there that says Patreon, and you can click on that and you can sign up to become a patron. Pick which level you want. We have $5, $10, $20, $30, and $50 a month. Whoop. And each level comes with all different stuff, but they all come with bonus episodes.
Yes.
So, yes.
And I love our bonus episodes.
I do too. They're fun.
They are.
And then we also have now added a tip jar. So if you don't want a monthly commitment and you still want to help us, you can go to our tip jar and you can do $1. You can do $7 million, however much
do that one. Do that one. Do that one.
You can pick whatever amount you want, right. And just all of that helps to support our show. And we use that money. We've gotten microphones. We use it for our website access, our RSS feed, which is what we actually use to put our podcast out. And we use it to travel to sites if we're going to sites. And there is a conference coming up that we would love to go to.
Yes, so I would love to go to that.
If we're not able to, that's fine. Hopefully next year.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to update you that we now have Tip Jar and we've changed the Patreon a little bit. So you can go to our website, roadsidepodcast.com, and you can select one of those.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah. And you'll also find our email there, which is roadsidepod@gmail.com, our Facebook, which is, do you have it in front of you?
Nope. Sure don't. I sure don't.
Let me pull it up. Facebook, Roadside Podcast. Instagram, Roadside Pod. TikTok, Roadside Podcast. So those are all of our socials. And now also YouTube, which is Roadside Pod.
Roadside Pod on YouTube. Oh.
Those are all also linked at the very top of our website. So you can just go to one place if you want to, roadsidepodcast.com. Again, I said it like 3 times. Isn't that what they do in a commercial? They say it like
Probably.
3 times.
Yeah.
So you remember it?
Yeah. You can see my cat back here. She's got her cone on. She's pretty mad at me right now. She'll survive.
You can also access all of our episodes from our website and get merchandise.
Yeah.
It's filled with lots of things.
Yes. Everything is on our website, basically.
Yes, everything is there.
Yep. So if you ever need anything from us, go there.
Yes. That's where you go.
Yep.
Lock it into memory. It will also be in the show notes so that you don't really have to lock it into memory.
Yep.
Clearly, I can't even lock our own stuff into memory.
Same. Hey, we got a lot going on. It's hard to remember sometimes.
Yes. But the show notes, that's why they're there. So you can go find stuff.
Right. So you can find us.
Yes. Let me go. Okay, so that's it for me. What about you? Anything else for you?
No. I started packing. I have to move in like a month. Boo. Yeah. And I'm excited to where I'm moving though, so that's okay. But I've started taking down my decor, and I'm so sad because my decor is my life.
You'll get to put it back up.
I know. I just miss it. I miss it already. I miss the coziness, you know?
Yeah. It starts to get so blank.
I know. Sad.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
That's really it. I don't got nothing going on.
All right. Well, you want to get into this episode?
I would freaking love to.
Okay. So I'm just going to tell you right now that this is likely to become a series, because today we are talking about the oldest speakeasy.
Ooh, I know how you love a good speakeasy.
Speakeasies. And if anybody out there knows a good speakeasy that we should talk about,
tell us.
Just please email us or tell us on our socials something. We would love them. So this one is called Tommy's Detroit Bar and Grill.
Ooh. Tommy's.
That is the current name of it. It's gone through some name changes.
Tommy is a very 20s gangster name. I like it.
Yeah. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about prohibition. When I talk about more speakeasies further on down the road, I'll leave out the prohibition stuff because people can come back to this. Right. But for those that are aware, prohibition is basically the outlawing of alcohol, consumption, sales, everything. And it was for 13 years, but there was a little bit of a road leading up to it. I didn't even know it was for 13 years.
I felt like it wasn't that long, but I wasn't there, so I can't say.
Well, I wasn't either, but yeah, it was for 13 years, but there was a lot leading up to it, which I found a lot of history on this that I didn't even know about. So in 1777, so we're going back a long time. Yeah. The Second Continental Congress considered a ban on whiskey.
Just whiskey?
But it did not pass. That's all I could find, but it said whiskey.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the very start of all of this. Right. In 1814, so this was quite a while later, the Massachusetts Society for the Suppression of Intemperance was formed. And then similar organizations were formed in other states. And this was basically the beginning of many different groups that were supporting the ban of alcohol and trying to stop it.
Right.
In 1840, the Washingtonian movement in Baltimore, which was men started pledging that they were abstaining from drinking.
Okay.
So this just started to kind of roll with these men that were pledging this. And then the temperance movement was pretty much full blown at this point. Churches started to equate drinking with sin, and people who drank were kind of looked at by these different temperance groups and churches as sinners and terrible people.
I know
and
it was a huge
them.
thing back in the day. I mean, I remember learning about this in like history class and about how like, I don't know, how much of a problem it got to be at that time with the incessant drinking, and, you know, then that ended up leading to bad things like sin, I guess you could say. You know.
Yeah, I've got some of that.
Same.
I mean, I don't. I mean what I'm talking about today.
Yeah. We all have sins in our past, Mom.
No, I am an angel. Don't you see my halo?
Okay.
All right. So people that like couldn't stop drinking or didn't stop drinking, they were criticized. In 1842, Abe Lincoln, who you know I also love.
Mom loves Abe Lincoln.
This was almost an episode that was more involved with Abe Lincoln.
Oh.
So I'll get there someday, but I thought that this was interesting. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny," because I was actually going to do an entire episode and then it came back. Shush. Maybe.
I knew you would do that.
1840. Did you?
I knew it.
Well, I actually have quite a few Abe Lincoln places on my list.
Cool.
So it could have been a lot of them.
Right.
But anyway. So Abraham Lincoln gave a temperance speech to the Springfield, Washington Temperance Society. And many people, like this was attended by a lot of different church-going people, and they fully expected him. Like they were like, yes, Abe is coming. I'm putting this in. This is like my words right now, but they fully expected him to be in support of all of this and to criticize people that were drinking.
Right.
And they were kind of surprised when he said, quote, talking about a man who drinks, "He needs every moral support and influence that can possibly be brought to his aid and thrown around him." End quote.
That's a
basically
good one.
Saying that, yeah, you know, if you're just telling somebody they're a piece of shit because they're drinking alcohol, that's not supportive. That's not helping them.
Right. Let's give them a little help instead of criminalizing them.
Right. Yes. As you know, there's other things that people think is wrong. So all they do is criticize people for it. In 1851, Maine became the first state to ban alcohol.
Okay.
And then in 1852, Oregon, Minnesota, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Vermont joined.
Okay.
By 1855, 7 more states would outlaw alcohol. So at this point, there's like 13 different states now have made alcohol illegal.
Okay. So it's slowly getting there.
Yes. By the start of the Civil War in 1861, all states but Maine repealed their bans.
Oh.
Because they suddenly realized, we don't have tax revenue anymore from all of this alcohol sales.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it all comes
Didn't think
down
about
to
that,
the money.
Yeah.
So now all these states, except for Maine, decided, oh, it's okay again because we need your money.
Yeah, exactly.
So Maine actually continued to prohibit alcohol until prohibition ended in 1933, which means that Maine actually outlawed alcohol for 82 years.
I never knew that.
I didn't either until I
always
studied.
Learn something in your episodes.
I learned something in yours too. So I always learn something when I do my own too.
Yeah. I learn something every episode.
Yep. So after the war ended, women started the temperance movement again. They're like, we want this banned again. The war is over. You've got the money. We want to do this. And this really started with women because they started blaming alcohol on abuse and financial problems in their families. They started to hold protests outside of saloons and breweries and distilleries. Mm-hmm. And in 1874, the Women's Christian Temperance Union was formed and began lobbying for a nationwide ban on alcohol. In 1893, so this was like 20 years later, like this is spanning a long time. Right. The Anti-Saloon League was formed by Wayne Wheeler, and by 1908, he had successfully got 50 counties in Ohio to ban alcohol.
Wow.
So at this point, it's still Maine is the only one that has completely outlawed alcohol. But in 1917, Michigan joined that. So they were the first state to do it again, even though different counties in Ohio had become dry counties. Not a whole state had done it yet again. So, Maine was back in 1851, and then it took until 1917 for another state to join. Okay. And so that was Michigan. And Michigan called it the Damon Act at the time.
Damon Act?
Okay. Yes. I don't know why. I couldn't find why it was called the Damon Act. Yeah. But in January of 1919, the 18th Amendment became law. Quote, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into, or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territory subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited.
Okay.
So this went into effect exactly 1 year later. So this was January of 1919. So January of 1920 is when prohibition officially started. By the early 19th century, it's estimated that an average adult male was drinking 7 to 12 gallons of alcohol per year.
That's a lot.
That statistic to me was like, wow, that's a lot, 7 to 12 gallons. So I was like, okay, let's break this down though, because alcohol is not drunk in gallons.
Right.
It's in ounces, right. So I wanted to, and it's over a year. So I wanted to see how much is that really? So I did the math. So with today's alcohol measurements, I don't know. Things could have been stronger back then. Right. I'm not sure. But with today's alcohol measurements being about 1.5 ounces per drink or a shot, this would be approximately 1.5 to 3 drinks every day.
Okay, that's not bad.
Right? Yeah. Like I was like, okay, you say like it says 7 to 12 gallons of alcohol per year.
When you say it like that,
and maybe
it sounds like a lot.
Right. But you're like, oh, so on average, they had 1.5 to 3 drinks every day. And that's average. Right. So you've got people that are probably drinking more, obviously. And then maybe there's somebody that's having like 1 glass of wine a night.
Like that's not a big deal.
So it just made it seem like, oh my gosh, that's so much alcohol. This must be a huge problem. It's like, okay, well,
who doesn't have a drink after
that
work?
Much when I think about it. Right. Like it just, I don't know. So yes, prohibition officially began January 17th, 1920, making alcohol illegal and closing all bars. They could, well, if they served alcohol, they could no longer serve alcohol. By 1933, the consequences of prohibiting alcohol started to become very apparent. So after 13 years of this, some of these consequences were the loss of tax revenue. Thousands of people lost their jobs, not only because like a bartender might or a waitress might lose their job, but barrel manufacturers, farmers, glass making companies, truckers. Thousands of people were losing their jobs. Yeah, because of the alcohol industry. And it also had an increase in crime.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A little bit. Regulations around the country started to become more lax around the start of 1933 because they started realizing all these, there's a lot more crime now. And so Michigan, who was the first state to join after Maine, at the first state of the prohibition, actually became the first state to ratify the 21st Amendment in April of 1933. So they were the first state in, first state out, except for Maine because they never stopped, basically. So in May of 1933, in Detroit, Michigan, the American Legion Convention celebrated this with 300 barrels of booze and 500 cases of beer.
Wow.
They had a big party.
They were all probably trashed.
I'm sure.
I mean, if I was alive back then, I would have been at that party.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been drinking.
Oh, fuck. I would have been at Speakeasy's for sure. For sure. By the end of 1933, prohibition would end for the entire U.S.
Yep.
So no more. So that is pretty much the story of prohibition. A little snippet there. So now we're going to get into Tommy's Detroit Bar and Grill.
I am excited about this.
And Abigail, you and I were only 3 miles from this place when we went to Canada.
You're kidding.
Like, no, literally, I looked at the map, and the turn that you make to get onto the bridge to go across the river that goes into Canada, if we had been driving 3 more miles, we would have been there.
You're crazy.
I know.
Dang.
I was like,
we were right there.
I know. I was like, I want to go.
Maybe we will someday.
Maybe someday.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So, Tommy's Detroit Bar and Grill is located at 624 3rd Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. It is just 2 blocks from the Detroit River, so we might have even been closer than 3 miles. This is, like I said, this is the current name for it. It has changed names a lot. I couldn't find all the names that it had been, but it also had a bunch of different stuff in it. So, this is possibly the U.S.'s oldest speakeasy.
Ooh.
I found some conflicting arguments, I guess, on that. But the reason that this one is because this one opened in 1840. Now, obviously, prohibition was not in effect then.
Right.
So it technically wasn't a speakeasy
the bar
at that time. Right. Some speakeasies opened during prohibition and then shut down. Some bars turned into speakeasies, and then some, and like they had a front, like one bar might sell like, oh, we sell tea and we sell soap or whatever. But really, if you knew the password or something like that, you knew you could get what you wanted. But this one opened in 1840 and is still open.
Nice.
So it's considered one of the, if not the oldest.
That's really cool. Even if it's not the oldest, it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's been around a long time, almost 200 years now.
Isn't that crazy?
Long ass time. Yeah. Yes. So it opened in 1840 as a small wooden structure. And then it was built as rebuilt as a 1-story brick building in 1869. Around the 1880s, a front addition was added to it. And then around the late 1890s, a second story was added to it.
Okay.
At this time, the name was the Andrew Healy Saloon.
Okay.
So that's as far back as I could find a name, was the 1890s. So whatever it was for the first 50 years, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been that. It could have been something else.
Right.
I don't know. In 1893, the Union Depot train station opened across the street. It's no longer there, but it brought a lot of business to the bar. Especially during World War II, because this was a major departure point for troops. And a lot of men, while waiting for their trains, they would stay in the church next door, go to the bar. I mean, you're about to go off to war.
Right. Might as well take a couple shots.
Right. A lot of guys are frequenting this bar at this point. Right. And then also in the early 1900s, so I'm not exactly sure when, it also had a barber shop inside and a cigar maker in the building. Which, from what I saw a couple of YouTube videos on it, and from what I saw, the cigar maker was basically this man just standing at a little table, just rolling cigars.
Nice. Might as well. Yeah. You can get a drink, get your hair cut, smoke a cigar.
Yeah. Oh, and then also like at the train station, I think they also had like a shoe shine. Like it was kind of like this between the church, the train station, and Tommy's. Like all of these soldiers, like kind of was all around it. So it's like kind of where they hung out.
Right.
In 1915, a small building was constructed right next to it.
Okay.
It was attached to it. It was very small. And this becomes an important piece.
Okay.
So that was in 1915. The owner of the building in the late teens through the 20s was a man named Harry Weitzman. Harry Weitzman. So during Prohibition, Harry turned the first level into an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
That's what the main floor was. Underneath it was built a little basement, very tiny basement. But between a secret door underneath the stairs, you could go into the rest of the basement, and this was called Little Harry's.
Little Harry's.
And that was the Speakeasy.
Nice.
Yep. And that was run from 1917, because that's when Prohibition started in Michigan, through 1933.
Okay.
So the way that you could get into this Speakeasy is Harry had guest cards made up, and they were basically business cards. And it just said Little Harry's in quotes on it, had the address and the phone number, no description of the business, nothing else was on there, but you had to show this card in order to get in, and only people like that were trustworthy could get one of these cards. So Harry operated. I know.
I want to be one of those people.
Harry operated it until around 1929, 1930, and then I'm not sure who took it over at that point. Okay. Part of this also was there were that little brick building on the side housed a secret entrance into this bar. And then there were also tunnels underground.
Ooh, I love an underground tunnel.
That went through here, and they were used to transport alcohol in from Canada.
Ooh, sneaky.
And they were also used for many years to help enslaved people escape the U.S.
Oh, wow.
So this was part of the Underground Railroad. Right. The tunnels could also be used if there were any raids on the Speakeasy, which to my knowledge, there never was a raid on this particular one.
That's crazy.
I never saw anything about that. Yeah. So during Prohibition in Detroit, most bootlegging and illegal activities were controlled by the Purple Gang,
Bum, bum, bum.
which I had never heard of the Purple Gang.
I have no idea who that is.
I was like, maybe I should have, because apparently they were
Big.
pretty big. I mean, they were pretty well known at the time. From what I could tell, there was only like 9 of them officially involved, but then there was like other branches or something of it. But they were essentially a group of Jewish immigrant men who, from the time that they were children, were pretty much criminals.
Okay. Classic.
Yeah, they were like picking pockets and stealing and stuff like that. So during Prohibition, they kind of took over, and they were described as a vicious criminal gang.
Yikes.
And they pretty much ran all of the alcohol coming in and out of the U.S. or coming into the U.S. It is estimated that 75% of all the alcohol that came into the U.S. during Prohibition came across from Canada through Detroit with the Purple Gang.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah. That is a lot. And even Al Capone, who came from Chicago to Detroit to do business with the Purple Gang, he had to answer to them instead of the other way around. So that kind of tells you
I see
how in charge the Purple Gang was. Yeah, he didn't get to run the Purple Gang.
They were big boys.
Yeah. Yep. In 1934, 1 year after Prohibition ended, Harry ended up opening an upscale restaurant and piano bar with the same name, Little Harry's, which he did shut down. That's no longer there. It's currently an IHOP.
Oh, okay.
In the mid-1930s, after Prohibition ended, that little bitty side building was demolished and the secret entrance was bricked over. And you can still see the outline where it is.
That's cool.
Yeah. So a couple name changes I did discover. The man that owns it now is Tom Burrell. And I don't know how long he's owned it. It's been quite a while, but that's why it's named Tommy's.
Right.
But I found this interesting. In the late 1930s to 40s, it was called Tom's Tavern.
Oh.
And it was owned by another man.
Funny.
And then another man named Tom. And then in the 1950s to 1970s, it was called Thomas's Barn. So like three different
it's always been Tom's
have owned it. Yeah. And it's had like for quite a while, you know.
That's
so I
funny.
thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, a little coincidence.
Yeah. So I've seen a few videos with him, and I've seen a few videos of like just touring inside of it. There is lots of sports memorabilia on the wall. There's lots of TVs and things like that to watch sporting events, as you can imagine, because it's a bar and grill.
Right.
But there's also a lot of historical pieces on the wall. So in 2013, Preservation Detroit approached Tommy and asked him if they could do some research on the building. So nobody knew that this speakeasy was there until Wayne University, who came in with their archaeology department, did an excavation on it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So this was just discovered in 2013 that it was even a speakeasy.
Wow. That's
because
cool.
But previously, if you go down to the basement, all you saw was a pile of dirt. Like it was a big pile of dirt. It was just a very small brick.
Ow, girl, you better stop it. You better stop it. I will feed you dinner when we're done. Get down.
It was just a very small brick basement that was filled with dirt. And then some people said it looked like about enough dirt that you could have dug out another part of the basement.
Okay.
Interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So the excavation took 11 weeks, and the archaeology department found proof of the speakeasy. They found that you could, they found it could be accessed by entering that small building on the side, because they discovered that you could see that. There was also the underground tunnels, hidden staircases, You, to my knowledge, they did not like completely take down the wall between it, but they did have cameras that went through all of that to see what was on the other side.
Yeah.
There were casino games. There was green, like it was a completely green wood paneled room, nice furnishings and things like that. They found broken bottles. They found distillery barrels. They also found a couple buckets of bones.
Oh.
Which ended up being fake.
Okay, cool. Because that's scary.
However, there are lots of rumors that the Purple Gang did bury bodies here.
Yikes.
So it is considered haunted as well.
Of course it is. You can't have a speakeasy that's not haunted.
So I'm going to tell you about some of the haunting stuff.
Tell me everything.
Okay. So the current owner, Tommy, I believe this was kind of like when they were setting up, and there was a cabinet, and he was trying to put stuff in it, and he couldn't get it to close, and he couldn't figure out why he couldn't get the door to close. And a friend of his was like kind of squatted down, reached in, and found a bulb of garlic that was tied with a ribbon. And
that sounds so witchy. So witchy.
And in this video, he said his friend
vampires.
His friend pulled it out and was like, "Guess you have vampires." And his friend threw it away. And then the cabinet was able to be filled with everything they needed to fill it with. His friend, she ended up like stacking all the things in there. I think it was a display cabinet.
Okay.
So there's like different, memorabilia and stuff in there. And she stacked it all in there, closed the door. The doors closed just fine and dandy. The next morning when they came back, everything was out of the cabinet and stacked exactly how it had been stacked on the back bar.
Was the garlic back where it was?
No. I had to think the garlic was actually just thrown away.
So weird.
Yeah.
So some witch put that garlic there and didn't want anybody to mess with it. She said, "You leave this here." And then someone messed with it, and she was vengeful. So, mess with my workings.
My thought was she was trying to keep a spirit away, and that spirit came back because the garlic was gone.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So garlic is very protective in the witchy world. So that's probably what it was for a protection of the home or protection from something negative.
Right. Yeah. Then he said the same memorabilia, he had 2 bobbleheads. And when he walked in, the bobbleheads were going insane. Like,
whoa.
Bobbing up and down very fast, as bobbleheads don't do unless you touch them.
Right.
And he said
there's an earthquake.
Yeah. He said he spoke, and as soon as he spoke, they stopped.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so scary. I love it. I love it.
Another time, he said the basement door was usually open, but he found it shut a few times. And shut to the point that he had to shove at it like super hard, almost as like if something was blocking it from the inside. And when he finally forced it open, there was a gust of cold wind and the light would pop on. But there was no electricity to the light.
We all know that's a ghost right there.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah. So maybe doing
this podcast has further proven my belief in ghosts.
Has it?
Yep, for sure.
So he said that happened to him a couple times. Scary. He also said he had a customer, because customers, like, they have tours of this, and you can go tour it, and you can go down in the basement, and you can take pictures and all of this. And he had a customer in there one time who was loudly being like, "That's fucking bullshit. Ghosts aren't real, blah, blah, blah." So this guy gets up. He goes into the bathroom. They hear him scream. He comes out of the bathroom, And he's got a big mark across his forehead. And he said he was shoved so hard that his feet lifted off the ground and he slammed his head into the wall. And nobody was in the bathroom with him.
That's what you get, dude. Don't mess with the spirits.
So Tommy said the guy continued to come back to the bar, but he refused to go into the bathroom.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, it's hard to find a good bar. You know? You can't. You gotta do what you gotta do.
What I thought was funny, though, is that he said he would go outside into the alley and pee in the alley. And I'm like, dude, that's like public indecency. You can't do that.
Yeah. Guys do it all the time.
But I guess he was less concerned about getting a ticket for public indecency than he was about being spooked by a ghost.
Yeah.
Take your chances.
Right.
Let's see, what else was there? Oh, he said there have been many times people have taken photos, and when they get their pictures back, there's an orb in the photo.
That's so cool.
And there was this one where he said this guy brought his grandson in, and his grandson was like 8 or 9 or something like that. And his grandson was starting to get a little scared because they're like telling these different stories.
Right, talking about ghosts and stuff.
Yeah. And so the grandpa said, "Oh, but Tommy's ghosts are nice ghosts, so it's okay." And he's like, "Look, well, I'll take a picture with one." And he like put his arm just like out in the air, like as if he had his arm around somebody.
Right.
And when they got the picture back, where his arm is, there's like this big yellow orb.
That is so
right
cool.
There.
The ghost was like, "Yeah, let me hop in." Photobomb.
He's like, "Want to take a picture? I'll take a picture."
That is so cool.
I mean, Speakeasy ghosts have to be fun ghosts, right?
Oh, for sure.
Having a good time.
For sure. Like, nothing, like, I feel like there wouldn't be any, like, bad vibes there. Like, they're not trying to, the only reason they mess with you is to joke around. You know,
right.
It's not like they're purposely trying to hurt you, right? They're just these, like, these drunken bar ghosts that are here to have a good time. You know?
I love it.
They knew where they were coming in the afterlife. They knew where they wanted to go. They said, "I want to go to that bar," and here they are.
Yep. They're having a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, what a way to celebrate your ghostliness, you know?
Right. Just hang out at your old favorite bar, mess with people.
Right. That'd be fun. That'd be a good time.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's dress up as ghosts and haunt a bar together for Halloween.
Okay, let's do it.
Cool.
And then, so the last thing is, people have claimed to see figures walking out of the walls, dressed in old-style clothing. People have seen arms coming out, because apparently they're also, like, where they would shove out, like, the barrels and stuff.
Oh, okay.
They would see the arms coming out as if they were, I don't know, bringing the barrels in or shoving them out, whatever they were doing.
Weird.
And then Tommy himself said he saw a man walking in a white suit with a white hat on, which sounds very 20s.
If it was a top hat, I'm going to lose my mind.
I don't know if it was a top hat.
I'm gonna believe that it's a top hat.
But in this video, which I'll link all of these in the show notes, in this video, there was somebody who commented, and he said, "That was Mr. White." And I'm like, and he goes, "Look it up. It's a Detroit legend." I could not find it. So if anybody knows about Mr. White,
White,
like this, and this post was like 8 years ago or 4 years ago. There was multiple different stories on it, but so I didn't comment on it or anything like that. But I was like, I would love to find out more about that. And see if I
Me
can
too.
And I tried looking up like urban legends of Detroit, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I want to know who Mr. White is, and I want to know why he's dressed so fancy. Where is he going?
Right.
What do you need a top hat for? I don't know. I want a white top hat. Maybe I'll wear one at my wedding.
Very like the flappers and like the gangsters, they're like all dressed great, you know.
Yeah. I love the flapper dresses and the pearls and the haircuts. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yes. So that is Tommy's Detroit Bar and Grill.
I want to go there.
The first of hopefully more speakeasies that I discover.
Yeah. It will definitely be more, guys, for sure.
Yeah.
Mom loves speakeasy.
Well, I definitely want to talk about, like, we have one in St. Louis called the Thaxton.
We do?
But we do. I've been there.
That. Let's go when I'm in town.
I don't know if we'll have time the next time you're in town, but maybe the next time. We'll see.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, so it's called the Thaxton, and I don't know if there's more history behind it, though. I don't know if it's worthy of an episode.
It might be. You never know.
And then it might be. And then other one that I will. I will.
Okay.
I call all speakeasies.
Okay, deal.
It'll be my series.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let it slide this time.
Thanks.
You should see if it has any connection with the Lemps and like their beer business.
Oh.
Because
what was the Lemp beer?
It was Falstaff, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the beer that they had in Detroit was like Store or something like that. It was like STOHR or something like that.
I don't know.
But
I think at the time it was just like Lemp was the brand, but it was bought by the Falstaff brand.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you want to know more about that, go listen to episode 1 because that was our first episode.
That was honestly one of my favorite episodes to do.
That was,
and I was so nervous about it because it was episode 1.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you started us off.
I know. Like it's up to me, make or break.
Yeah. The other one that I've been to is in Portland, and that one's called Bible Club.
Yes, I have heard about that one.
Which a lot of speakeasies had different names, so they were like a front. Like there was one that I saw that was like mortgage company or something. Yeah, so
mortgage company.
You'd have different fun names of them.
Right.
I would love to find more speakeasies, and I mean, I could Google them obviously, but it would be fun to have suggestions from our guests, especially if you've been to them. That would be fun to
send
have
us your stories, send us your pictures,
our listeners.
Yeah,
or if you own a speakeasy,
tell me everything. If you own a speakeasy, I want you to be on this podcast with us.
Yes, absolutely. That would be
tell
really
us
cool.
If you own a speakeasy.
Yes, or if you know somebody who owns a speakeasy, reach out to them. Send them this episode. Tell them we want to talk to them.
Yes. Immediately, yes.
So that's all I got for you today.
I liked that. That was good. I like Tommy's. Yeah.
Thanks.
So 20 with our special surprise.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And we will also link Tommy's in the show notes.
Yes.
Because they have a Facebook page. We're going to tag them in our socials. I don't know if they're on anywhere but Facebook. Facebook was the only one that I could find, but they had quite a few YouTube videos. They were on like the Detroit news and stuff like that. Cool. So I don't know how many people outside of Detroit know about Tommy's.
Yeah.
But when I found it, I was like, I got to do this one. It's haunted. It's a speakeasy. It's old.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't have to convince me.
Right. Speakeasy, secret password, drinking, mom's in.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right.
That is that. Thank you for listening. And
thank you so much for listening. Follow us.
Go to
our show notes.
Email us. Go to our website.
Us.
Yes.
Share us with a friend.
Yes. And always keep finding the thrill in the mysterious.
We love you all.
Mwah.
Bye.
Farewell.